The room is quiet. A laptop screen glows in the dark. It's not work, it's a video. Something about investing. He pauses it halfway, leans back, stares at the ceiling. There's a number on the screen. Two people, same income, same life. One started investing at 25, the other at 35. The difference isn't small. He rewinds, watches again. It doesn't feel dramatic. No flashy claims, no hype. Just numbers. Calm. Simple. But something about it doesn't sit right. Because up until now, everything felt fine. Bills paid, some savings, occasional investing. Nothing reckless. So why does this feel unsettling? He closes the laptop, but the thought stays. This seems fine at first, but something changes. And most people don't notice when that change begins. The next morning looks normal. Same commute, same coffee, same routine. His salary comes in once a month. After taxes, it's about $4,200. It sounds decent, and technically, it is. Then everything starts moving. Rent, $1,500. Utilities and internet, $200. Groceries, $400. Transportation, $300. Subscriptions, $80. Insurance, $250. That's already over half gone. Then there's everything else. Dinner with friends, weekend plans, occasional online shopping. Nothing extreme, just life. By the end of the month, there's usually something left. Maybe $300, sometimes $500. Some months it's less, and occasionally there's a small transfer into an investment account. Not consistent, but not ignored either. It feels responsible, balanced. He's not falling behind, but he's not really moving ahead either. And this is where things quietly settle into a pattern, because nothing feels urgent. There's time. At least that's how it feels. A few years pass like this. Nothing dramatic changes. Salary increases slightly. Expenses rise with it. A slightly better apartment, more convenience, a bit more comfort. And that's where the pattern becomes harder to see, because externally, life improves. Internally, the structure stays the same. Income goes up, spending adjusts, savings stays inconsistent, and investing? It becomes something that happens when there's extra. Not a priority, not ignored either, just delayed. And this is where the timeline quietly splits. Because somewhere else, someone with the same income, same lifestyle, started earlier. Not with large amounts, just small, consistent ones. And at first, there's no visible difference. Year 1 looks the same. Year 2, still similar. Nothing dramatic. But this is where it gets interesting. Because the real shift doesn't happen at the beginning. It happens later. Much later. Let's keep it simple. Two versions of the same person. Same income, same expenses, same life. The only difference is timing. One starts investing at 25, the other at 35. Both invest $400 per month. No changes, no increases, just steady contributions. Now here's what happens. By age 35, the one who started earlier has been investing for 10 years. Roughly $48,000 invested. With growth, maybe around $70,000, $80,000. The later starter, just beginning. Same life, same income, but starting from zero. At this point, the gap exists, but it doesn't feel overwhelming. And that's why most people don't react here, because it still looks manageable. But the math doesn't stay linear. That early $70,000, it keeps growing. Even if contributions stopped, that money continues working. And over the next 10 to 20 years, that's where the difference expands. Quietly, exponentially. By 55 or 60, the gap isn't just tens of thousands. It can be hundreds of thousands, sometimes more. And neither person did anything extreme. No risky bets, no big sacrifices. Just one started earlier and one waited. This is not financial advice, but the question isn't just math, it's behavior. Because delaying investing rarely feels like a mistake in the moment. It feels reasonable. There's always a reason. I'll start when I earn more, when things stabilize, after this phase. And those reasons aren't wrong. They're human. There's also something else happening. Social pressure. At 25, most people aren't thinking about long-term investing. They're thinking about experiences, travel, dining out, upgrading small parts of life. Nothing excessive, just keeping up with what feels normal. And when everyone around you is doing the same thing, waiting doesn't feel like falling behind. It feels like alignment. But this is where the hidden trade-off sits. Because time doesn't wait for alignment. It moves independently. And the system rewards consistency over timing perfection. But emotionally, starting later feels easier. Because by 35, income is higher, there's more clarity, more stability. But there's less time. And that trade-off is rarely obvious in the moment. Fast forward, mid-40s. Life is more established now. Career is stable, income is stronger. But something subtle starts to shift. Expenses are heavier. Maybe a mortgage, family responsibilities, less flexibility. And this is where earlier decisions start to show up. Not dramatically, but in small constraints. The early starter, their investments have been compounding quietly. There's a growing sense of margin. Options feel slightly wider. Taking a break, changing jobs, reducing hours. Not easy decisions, but possible ones. The later starter, still investing, still responsible, but the timeline feels tighter. There's less room for error, less space to pause, more dependence on continued income. And this isn't about being behind, it's about how much flexibility exists. Because wealth, at its core, isn't just about numbers, it's about options. And those options are shaped over time, not in big decisions, but in small, repeated ones. This is where perspective begins to change. Not through advice, not through urgency, just observation. People who feel financially calm often aren't doing anything dramatically different today. Their lives don't look extreme. They still spend, they still enjoy life. But there's a quiet structure underneath. They think in terms of time, not just money. They value margin, that small gap between income and spending. Not for restriction, but for flexibility. And most importantly, they understand that starting earlier isn't about maximizing returns. It's about reducing pressure later. Because when time does more of the work, effort doesn't have to. And this is the part most people miss. It's not about getting ahead quickly. It's about not needing to catch up later. The car is moving. Just a long line of red lights ahead. He glances at the dashboard clock, then back at the road. Nothing urgent, nowhere critical to be, but his mind drifts back to that video. 25 versus 35. It didn't feel important at first, just another financial idea. But now, it feels more like a timeline. Not fixed, not rigid, just quietly shaping things in the background. He doesn't feel panic or regret, just awareness. Because the difference wasn't created in one moment.
It was built slowly, through timing, through consistency, through small decisions that didn't feel important at the time. The light turns green. Cars begin to move. And so does everything else, at its own pace. If this helped clarify things, consider subscribing.